The charity gala glittered with champagne and diamonds, but 8-year-old Emma Castellano sat alone at table 12, watching everyone pretend she didn't exist. She was used to it by now. The stares, the awkward smiles, the way adults would start to approach her father and then notice her, their expressions shifting from interest to uncomfortable pity before they made excuses and walked away. Her father, Vincent Castellano, stood across the ballroom, surrounded by a circle of executives and socialites, all vying for his attention. Forbes had recently ranked him as the 6th wealthiest man in America, and everyone wanted a piece of his empire. Everyone except his daughter, who just wanted him to sit with her for 5 minutes. Emma's hands moved in the silence that was her world, signing to herself, a habit her speech therapist said she should break, but it comforted her. "The chandelier looks like frozen stars," she signed, staring up at the crystal fixture above. No one saw her. No one ever did. Maya Chen balanced 3 plates of hors d'oeuvres on her arm, with the practiced grace of someone who'd been working catering jobs since she was 16. At 27, she'd worked hundreds of events like this. Rich people in expensive clothes, talking about money they'd never spend, ignoring the staff who made their parties possible. This gala was for the Castellano Foundation, some charity for children's hospitals. Maya didn't know the details. She just knew the pay was good, and she needed every dollar. Her student loans from nursing school weren't going to pay themselves, and her mother's medical bills kept piling up. She navigated through the crowd, offering smoked salmon and caviar to people who barely glanced at her. Invisible. That's what service workers were to people like this. Then she saw the little girl. Table 12, sitting completely alone. A small figure in a blue velvet dress that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. The girl was staring at her hands, her fingers moving in patterns that Maya recognized immediately. Sign language. Maya's heart clenched. She'd learned ASL when her younger brother Danny had lost his hearing after meningitis at age 4. She'd spent years being his voice, his interpreter, his bridge to a world that often didn't want to make room for him. Danny was in college now, thriving, but Maya still signed in her sleep sometimes. She changed direction, heading toward table 12. The little girl didn't notice her approach, lost in her own silent world. Maya set down her tray and sat in the empty chair beside her. The girl's head snapped up, startled. Her eyes were a striking gray, intelligent and guarded. Maya smiled and raised her hands. "Hello. My name is Maya. What's yours?" The girl's eyes went wide. For a moment, she just stared, as if Maya might be a hallucination. Then, slowly, her hands lifted. "You can sign." "Yes, I learned from my brother. He's deaf too." Emma's entire face transformed. The careful blankness she'd been wearing shattered into something bright and desperate and hopeful. "No one here can sign. No one ever can. Except my teachers and my interpreter. But Dad said she didn't need to come tonight because it was just a party." The signs came fast, tumbling over each other with the pent-up frustration of a child who'd been voiceless all evening. "I've been sitting here for 2 hours. Everyone looks at me like I'm broken. A lady asked my dad if I was special needs right in front of me, like I couldn't understand, like being deaf makes me stupid." Maya felt anger flare in her chest. She'd seen this 1,000 times with Danny. The assumptions, the condescension, the way people spoke slower and louder, as if volume could penetrate deafness. "You're not broken," Maya signed firmly. "And you're definitely not stupid. People are just ignorant. That's their problem, not yours." Emma studied her with those sharp gray eyes. "Are you working the party?" "Yes, I'm one of the catering staff." "So you're not here to meet my dad? To try to get money from him or make a business deal?" The question was so world-weary coming from an 8-year-old that Maya's heart broke a little. "No, I didn't even know who your dad was until just now. I just saw a girl sitting alone and thought you might want some company." For the first time that evening, Emma smiled. A real smile that crinkled her eyes. "What were you signing before?" "About the chandelier." Emma's hands moved shyly. "I said it looks like frozen stars. Is that silly?" "That's beautiful. You're absolutely right. It does look like frozen stars." They talked for 20 minutes. Emma told her about her school for the deaf, about her favorite books, about how she wanted to be a marine biologist when she grew up because nobody could hear underwater anyway, so everyone was equal there. Maya told her about Danny, about how he'd just gotten accepted to Gallaudet University, about the time he'd won a national poetry competition and the judges hadn't even known he was deaf until he accepted the award in sign. Really? Emma's signs were eager. He won? Even though he's deaf? Not even though, Maya corrected gently. Maybe because being deaf gives you a different perspective on the world. You notice things hearing people miss. You see silence as something beautiful, not empty. Emma's eyes glistened with tears she was trying not to shed. My dad doesn't know sign language. He says he's too busy to learn. He hired people to talk to me instead. Before Maya could respond, a shadow fell over their table. Emma, what are you doing? Maya looked up into the face of Vincent Castellano. He was younger than she expected, maybe 40, with dark hair threaded with silver and the kind of face that probably appeared on magazine covers. But his expression was cold, his eyes moving from his daughter to Maya with obvious disapproval. Emma's hands moved quickly. Dad, this is Maya. She knows sign language. We were just talking. But Vincent wasn't looking at his daughter. He was looking at Maya with the suspicion of a man who'd learned to distrust everyone. You're one of the catering staff, he said flatly. It wasn't a question. Maya stood, suddenly very aware of her simple black uniform versus the designer gowns around her. Yes, sir. You were just doing your job, which is serving food, not sitting with the guests. His voice was quiet but cut like ice. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here, but my daughter doesn't need your pity. Dad. Emma's hands moved frantically, but he wasn't watching. Maya felt her own anger rising. I wasn't offering pity, Mr. Castellano. I was offering conversation. Your daughter was sitting alone. My daughter is fine, and I'd appreciate if you'd return to your duties before I speak to your supervisor. The threat hung in the air. Maya needed this job. She couldn't afford to lose it. But looking at Emma's face, seeing the humiliation and hurt there, she couldn't just walk away. She turned to Emma and signed, It was wonderful talking to you. You're brilliant and brave, and anyone who can't see that is blind in ways that matter much more than not hearing. Emma's face crumpled, tears finally spilling over. Vincent's jaw tightened. What did you just say to her? I told her she's wonderful, Maya said, meeting his eyes. Something I suspect she doesn't hear nearly enough. She picked up her tray and walked away before he could respond, her heart pounding. She could feel his glare burning into her back. 10 minutes later, Maya was called into the kitchen by her supervisor, Gerald, a perpetually stressed man in his 50s. Maya, what the hell did you do? Her stomach sank. I talked to a guest's daughter. She was alone, and she's deaf, and I know sign language, so You spoke to Vincent Castellano's daughter. Gerald ran his hand through his thinning hair. Do you have any idea who that man is? A billionaire who doesn't have time to learn to communicate with his own child. Maya shot back, her anger overriding her common sense. He's the client who hired us. He's also the man who just called the owner and demanded you be removed from the event. Maya's world tilted. What? You're done for tonight. Go home. I'll try to smooth this over. But Maya, you can't just, he sighed. I know you meant well, but these people, they're not like us. You can't just sit down at their tables. Maya changed out of her uniform in a daze. She'd lost event pay for the night, money she desperately needed. All because she'd tried to talk to a lonely little girl. Outside, the night air was cold. Maya stood on the sidewalk, watching the illuminated windows of the hotel ballroom. She could see silhouettes moving inside, the party continuing without her. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. How's the fancy party? Making lots of tips. Maya couldn't bring herself to respond. She started walking toward the subway, her feet aching in the cheap shoes she'd been standing in for hours. She'd made it half a block when she heard running footsteps behind her. Wait. Please wait. Maya turned to find Emma running toward her, her blue dress flying, a security guard jogging behind her looking panicked. Emma, you can't just run off, the guard started. But Emma ignored him. crashing into Maya with a hug that nearly knocked her over. The little girl was crying, her thin shoulders shaking. Maya knelt down, taking Emma's hands. "What's wrong? What happened?" Emma's signs were messy with emotion. "Dad said you were trying to trick me, that you just wanted to use me to get to him, that people like you always have an angle. But that's not true, is it? You were just being nice, weren't you?" "Yes," Maya signed back, her own eyes burning. "I was just being nice. I promise." "Miss Chen." The security guard looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Castellano wants his daughter back inside." "I don't want to go back." Emma signed desperately. "No one in there cares about me. They only care about Dad's money. At least you saw me. At least you talked to me like I'm a real person." Maya felt something crack in her chest. She looked up at the security guard. "Can you give us just a minute?" He hesitated, then nodded, stepping back but keeping them in sight. Maya turned back to Emma. "Listen to me. Your dad loves you. I know it might not always feel like it, but he does. He's just scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of people who might hurt you to get to him. Scared of making mistakes. Scared of a lot of things, probably. Rich people carry different fears than the rest of us. But they're still fears." "Are you scared?" Emma asked. "All the time," Maya admitted. "I'm scared I won't be able to pay my bills. Scared my mom's health will get worse. Scared I'll never become the nurse I want to be. Everyone's scared of something." "What do you do when you're scared?" Maya smiled sadly. "I try to remember that being scared means you care about something. And caring about things, even when it's hard, that's what makes us human." Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, then signed something that made Maya's breath catch. "Will I ever see you again?" Before Maya could answer, Vincent Castellano appeared, striding toward them with an expression like a thundercloud. "Emma, inside. Now." But this time Emma didn't move. She planted her feet and began signing rapidly at her father, her small hands moving with fierce determination. Vincent's face went pale. He clearly didn't understand a word. "She's saying..." Maya started to interpret. "I know what she's doing." Vincent cut her off coldly. "She's manipulating the situation because she knows I can't understand her. It's a tactic she uses." The casual cruelty of those words hit Maya like a slap. "She's not manipulating anyone. She's trying to communicate with her father. Maybe if you'd bothered to learn her language, you'd know what she was saying." Vincent's eyes flashed dangerously. "You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know anything about our situation. I know your daughter sat alone for 2 hours at a party you brought her to. I know she's desperate for someone, anyone, to see her as more than a burden or an inconvenience. And I know that you just called her communication manipulation, which tells me everything I need to know about why she's so lonely." The security guard shifted uncomfortably. A few guests had wandered outside and were watching the scene unfold with undisguised curiosity. Vincent stepped closer, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. "You're a catering worker who's known my daughter for 20 minutes. Don't presume to lecture me about parenting." "You're right," Maya said, her voice shaking with anger and adrenaline. "I'm nobody. I'm just someone who saw a little girl who needed a friend and decided to be one. I'm so sorry that offended your billionaire sensibilities." She turned to Emma and signed, "I have to go now. But remember what I said. You're not broken. You're extraordinary. Don't let anyone make you feel less than that." Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face, and signed back, "Thank you for seeing me." Maya walked away before she started crying too. She could feel Vincent's eyes on her back, but she didn't turn around. The next 2 weeks were brutal. Maya worked double shifts at the diner where she waitressed between catering gigs, trying to make up for the lost income from the gala. Her supervisor Gerald had called to tell her apologetically that the catering company couldn't use her for high-end events anymore. Vincent Castellano's complaint had made sure of that. "It's nothing personal," Gerald had said, "but we can't afford to lose clients like him." So Maya was back to serving coffee and eggs to construction workers at 6 in the morning and covering the dinner rush until midnight. Her feet ached constantly. Her student loan payment was late. And every time she closed her eyes, she saw Emma's face, that desperate hope when someone had finally spoken her language. She was wiping down tables after the lunch rush when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Maya Chen? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. Yes, who's this? My name is Patricia Morrison. I'm calling from Castellano Enterprises. Mr. Castellano would like to meet with you. Maya nearly dropped the phone. I'm sorry, what? Tomorrow, 2 p.m. at his office downtown. I'm emailing you the address now. Will you be available? I don't understand. Why would he want to meet with me? Mr. Castellano didn't share the details, only that it concerns his daughter Emma. Will you be available? Maya's mind raced. This had to be some kind of trap. Maybe he wanted to threaten her with legal action, make sure she never spoke about Emma to anyone. But then she remembered Emma's face, the way she'd lit up when someone finally spoke to her in her own language. Yes, Maya heard herself say. I'll be there. The Castellano Enterprises building was a glass and steel tower in the financial district, the kind of place Maya would normally never have reason to enter. The lobby alone was more impressive than any apartment she'd ever lived in. All marble floors and modern art that probably cost more than a house. She gave her name at the security desk, and within minutes, Patricia Morrison herself appeared. She was a polished woman in her 40s, wearing a suit that screamed executive assistant to the powerful. Ms. Chen, thank you for coming. Mr. Castellano is waiting for you. Maya followed her into an elevator that required a special key card to access the top floors. Her palms were sweating. She'd worn her best outfit, which wasn't saying much, a simple gray dress and cardigan that she usually saved for job interviews. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. And there, standing with his back to her, looking out at his kingdom, was Vincent Castellano. Mr. Castellano, Ms. Chen is here. He turned, and Maya was struck again by how young he looked to have achieved so much. But today he looked tired. There were shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there at the gala. Thank you, Patricia. Hold my calls. The assistant left, and suddenly Maya was alone with the man who'd gotten her blacklisted from half the catering companies in the city. Ms. Chen, please sit. Maya sat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk, her back straight, refusing to be intimidated. Vincent sat down across from her, and for a long moment, he just studied her with those sharp gray eyes that were so much like Emma's. I owe you an apology, he said finally. Maya blinked. That was not what she'd expected. I was out of line at the gala. I made assumptions about your intentions and I reacted poorly. I cost you work and that was wrong. Why? Maya asked bluntly. Why did you assume the worst? Vincent's jaw tightened. Because when you're in my position, people always want something. Always. I've learned to view every interaction through that lens. It's kept me and my daughter safe. Safe from what? People being kind to her. Safe from people who would use her to get to me. His voice hardened. 3 years ago, a woman befriended Emma at a park, spent weeks building trust with her, learning about her schedule, her school, her routines. She was planning a kidnapping. We found out before anything happened. But he broke off, running a hand through his hair. Since then, I've been careful. Perhaps too careful. Maya felt some of her anger deflate. I'm sorry that happened, but Emma is paying the price for your caution. I know. The admission seemed to cost him. After you left the gala, Emma refused to speak to me for 3 days. Well, not speak. She refused to communicate with me at all. She'd only respond to her interpreter. And when she finally did agree to sign to me, do you know what she said? Maya shook her head. She said, that woman spoke to me for 20 minutes and learned more about me than you have in 8 years. Maybe you should hire her to be your daughter too. His voice cracked slightly on the last words. Maya's heart clenched. She was right, Vincent continued. I've been so focused on keeping her safe, on building a future for her, on making sure she'd never want for anything material, that I forgot to actually be present in her life. I kept telling myself I'd learn sign language eventually, when things slowed down, when I had more time. But there's always another deal, another meeting, another crisis. And meanwhile, My daughter is growing up speaking a language I don't understand. He reached into his desk and pulled out a book. Signing for Beginners. I bought this 4 years ago, when Emma first started losing her hearing. It's still in perfect condition because I've barely opened it. I kept hiring people instead, interpreters and tutors and specialists. People who could do the work of connecting with my daughter so I didn't have to learn. Vincent looked up at Maya, and she was shocked to see his eyes were wet. I loved my wife more than anything in this world. When she died giving birth to Emma, I thought I'd die too. But I had this perfect little girl who needed me. So I pushed through. I built the company bigger, made more money, convinced myself that providing for Emma was the same as being there for her. It's not, Maya said softly. No, he agreed. It's not. And it took a catering worker I'd never met to show me what I was doing to my own daughter. He stood and walked to the window, his back to Maya. I want to hire you. I'm sorry, what? I want to hire you to teach me sign language. Private lessons, daily if possible. I need to learn to communicate with my daughter, and I need to do it right.
Hit that subscribe button because this story will have you hooked from start to finish. Drop a red heart if you believe in unexpected second chances.